Boa tarde a todos. Obrigado por terem regressado esta tarde de trabalhos. Nós temos vindo a falar no European Open Science Cloud nos últimos fóruns, desde 2019, e resolvemos fazer hoje um painel onde teremos 3 convidados, e como os convidados, ou pelo menos 2 deles, falam inglês, por cortesia iremos fazer este painel em inglês, e portanto, se não se importa, então iria mudar de idioma. So, this session about EOSC will have 4 presentations. The first one will be Isabel Caetano, that is Senior Stakeholder Engagement and Outreach Officer in the EOSC Association. Then we'll have Roberto Sabatino, a Research Engagement Officer at HEAnet. HEAnet is the Research Education Network of Ireland, and is also EOSC Steering Board member. Then we'll have Sara Garavelli, EOSC Program Manager at CIC. CIC is kind of a FCCN in Finland, and I think she's also a EOSC board member. And then I will talk about EOSC in Portugal, the status and the future activities. So without further ado, I will call Isabel to her presentation.
Thank you, João. So just some brief words in Portuguese for my Portuguese colleagues and friends. Boa tarde a todos. É com muito gosto que estou aqui hoje e agradeço o convite da FCT-FCCN para esta sessão. Como o João referiu, eu estou a trabalhar na Associação EOSC, que tem sede em Bruxelas, mas também, como verão na apresentação, tenho vindo a apoiar um conjunto de atividades, sobretudo nos países, portanto é com enorme satisfação que participei não só no Tripartite Event que decorreu em Faro, mas também agora nesta sessão, e estamos já a procurar perspectivar novas atividades para os próximos anos. Okay, so first of all, I would like to thank for this invitation to participate in this forum. I am certain that most of you, as myself, are totally committed to open science and, of course, EOSC. And as it involves many changes, it is, in my opinion, very important to create synergies between all stakeholders, between our community members at all levels. I mean, institutional, national, and international. So also it is really a pleasure to be in this session together with Roberto Sabatino from Ireland, Sara from Finland, and also a board member, as you see from EOSC Association, Sara Garavelli, and João Moreira from Portugal. Of course, a lot has already been done and many activities are ongoing towards EOSC development, but we face many challenges that require a huge collaboration between us and a huge effort to achieve the goals. And that's why we are here today. So my task is now to briefly present you. Okay. EOSC Association. And my today topics are EOSC and EOSC Association, the partnership. You will be aware of what I mean with the partnership, the tripartite collaboration, and how Portugal is participating in EOSC activities. So an overview of EOSC Association and the purpose of EOSC. So mainly we aim to provide a single voice of the community towards EOSC development and represent the community in the partnership together with other stakeholders that are the European Commission and the steering board, that I will talk about it later on. Another objective is to promote the alignment of the European Union research policy and priorities with activities coordinated by association, and also in a more long-term approach to enable seamless access to data through interoperable services that address the entire research data life cycle. So we are, EOSC Association, the legal entity established to govern EOSC, and it was formed in July 2020 with four founding members, and since then we have been growing, and I will show you how many we are at the moment. We are basing our action in some guiding principles for EOSC, and the overarching principle for developing EOSC is that research has to be at the center of the EOSC initiative. Nevertheless, some other principles are, of course, important for our mission. One is the multi-stakeholder approach. I mean, EOSC will only succeed if we follow a multi-stakeholder approach. That's why these events, these activities are so crucial for achieving our mission. Also, openness, and another one guiding principle that you have already certainly talked about it today in the morning is the FAIR principles. It means EOSC research being findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable. Then EOSC will also aim to federate existing and upcoming data and e-infrastructures, and will strive to have a right balance between machines and people in delivering the services that will serve the needs of European scientists. EOSC Association as a board of directors, we have also here the honor to have Sara Garavelli with us. So Sara, if I missed something important, please compliment my presentation. You have a lot more experience than myself. And this board of directors is shared by Karel Leuven, that today was also participating in the tripartite event in Germany this morning, together with my Secretary General, Ute Gulsanmeyer. The EOSC Association today has been growing. So from the 4 members in the founding moment, we are now more than 160. And this is a picture from the first in-presence General Assembly last May. João was there, Jorge Noro from Coimbra was there, and some other participants. And next week we will have the General Assembly 5 with several topics in the agenda. We have very limited time today, so if needed during the questions Q&A topic, I will be glad to share with you some more information. So we are now 163 members and 78 observers, with a stronger member base, well balanced between the different types of organizations, including research performing here with a strong positioning in the association, more than 50% of the members. And after GA5, so next week, next General Assembly, if everything goes well, and we hope it goes well, we will have 167 members and 81 observers. In this group of members, we have 2 members from Portugal. So the FCT here, João, through FCCN, representing FCT as the mandated organization, and Universidade de Coimbra, that is the other member. And these are the 2 members, but we are eager to reach out to the Portuguese community and to engage more other universities, other research performing organizations, research infrastructures to be more involved in all the work going on in Europe in this topic. The partnership we have, so I will not detail too much about the partnership, but when we talk about the partnership, we are talking about the relationship between EOSC Association, the European Commission, and the member states and associated countries through the steering board. And this partnership is now is governed through a memorandum of understanding that was signed in July 2021. And this memorandum of understanding was signed in one hand by EOSC Association and the other by the European Commission. And through this memorandum of understanding, we also have the participation of the member states and associated countries that form the EOSC steering board together with the European Commission. So we have here the representatives from the member states and the associated countries in the EOSC steering board, in which we also have a Portuguese representative. And this is how we govern the activities under the EOSC partnership. And we call this the tripartite collaboration. By the way, every detail of this information can be accessed in our website. We have a lot of information there. So please use our website and the information provided. One or two words about the Memorandum of Understanding. So the Memorandum of Understanding defines the commitments from the European Commission, but also the commitments from EOSC Association through the commitments of the member states. So in the Memorandum of Understanding, it is stated that financial and in-kind commitments should have in total 490 million euros in financial contribution by the European Commission and almost 500 million euros in-kind contribution from the member states that EOSC Association provides the details to the European Commission, and that are to the member states, I mean the members of EOSC Association that are surveyed and are consulted to identify their activities related to EOSC. So this is important because it is also in the Memorandum of Understanding that is stated that the European Commission should take into consideration the input and advice from EOSC when defining the core topics relative to the scope and objectives of the strategic and innovation agenda, which means that work program of Horizon Europe, as I will say, will have, it reflects these contributions that we gather in EOSC Association that come from the member states. So this strategic and research and innovation agenda has three main goals. One, it is open science practices and skills are rewarded and taught, becoming the new normal. The second one, standards, tools, and services allow researchers to find, access, reuse, and combine results. And the third one is sustainable and federated infrastructures enable open sharing of scientific results. This provides this agenda and the contributions from all the community. And as I've said, EOSC tries to be the voice and aims to be the voice of the research community and of the EOSC community. This provides inputs through the multi-annual roadmaps that are also an important information for the European Commission that group the priorities and the activities in three main implementation levels. So the institutional, the national, and the European. We have already provided the first multi-annual roadmap, and we are finalizing the second and updated multi-annual roadmap. So the process for delivering EOSC is not only supported and in some way activated through the activities of the whole community and the SRIA agenda, but also through the infra-EOSC projects that are the key projects financed and supported through the European Commission under the Horizon Europe program. And for these projects, the topics, as I've said before, are suggested, defined, recommended by the community that EOSC represents. So your participation in EOSC activities and EOSC task forces, as I will demonstrate later on, is very important also to transfer the needs and the goals of the community towards the topics that the future calls will have. And to enable more coordination and more synergies between projects and between all the activities that are going on in our community, because this is a community-driven process. At EOSC Association, we have also developed several instruments to facilitate this coordination. And you can also have access to these documents on the website of our association. Here you have some examples of the work program with topics that are already identified. It's not yet the final work program, the topics, but please be aware that the call is coming beginning of December with deadlines finishing in March, and that these topics that are here in some way, as you see from this, this topic is also related to the multi-annual report, to the multi-annual roadmap that we have identified previously. And then, as we have seen, the tripartite collaboration is a governance model, is the concept that is also related to the ERA priorities, to the ERA actions. Open science is the first one, and it is very interesting to notice, to share with you that open science as priority, ERA priority 1, was identified by now actually 25 member countries that have committed to this ERA action. So we have good conditions because member states committed towards the European Commission towards this ERA action number 1. Here in the table you see 24 countries committed, but lately Luxembourg has also committed to ERA action 1. So now actually we have 25 countries, including Portugal. So the tripartite collaboration has also given an opportunity to promote in the countries several tripartite events. For the moment, we had already organized in 9 places, targeting 16 countries and engaging more than 1,000 participants, and it's like a kind of Volta à Europa, Tour d'Europe, and we have also here identified the tripartite together with Spain. But of course, there's a lot of activities already planned for next year, 2023, and we also have in this session Roberto and Sara, both that were involved in organizing national tripartite events, one in Ireland and another for the Nordics and Baltic countries. So they can certainly also share their opinion about the value added this model can bring to our community. Some numbers. So we had in these tripartite events more than 1,100 participants, 151 speakers, moderators, and panelists, and 16 countries targeted as, for instance, Nordic and Baltics involve more than one country. How is Portugal going on in this effort at the EOSC Association? So at the EOSC Association, we have a brain pool of more than 400 volunteers, experts, that commit their time and effort to several topics. We are organized in 5 advisory groups, and in these 5 advisory groups, we have 13 task forces. And for the moment, we have 10 experts, and we are participating in Portugal, from Portugal, in 6 task forces. So there is a huge opportunity also to engage more our community, the Portuguese community, in the already established task forces, and also to promote these activities in Portugal. In which task forces there is no Portuguese participation, and how can you access more information about that? So you have here the task forces in which there is no Portuguese participation, policy and PID policy implementation, roles of participation, fair metrics and data quality, etc. So we have 7 task forces with no Portuguese participation, and there you can go to our website and check not only the charter for each task forces, but also the members that are already engaged in this task force, the shares, co-shares, and members. You have here some examples. And the first outputs are being already developed and some already published. For instance, Financial Sustainability Task Force has produced the progress report that is already available online. So you can go there and download the document and check if it is interesting also for your work. As I've said, member states are committed to have an in-kind contribution for EOSC development. So EOSC Association asks members from EOSC Association to identify which activities they have been developing that can be EOSC related. And from Portugal, we have now received the contributions for the survey. We have the 2 members that have sent the contributions, and several additional activities were identified. Certainly, João afterwards will talk about some of these additional activities developed in Portugal that are also consolidating the in-kind contribution from Portugal that will be shared with the European Commission. And finally, we had the tripartite event in Faro last October with several presentations. So if you have not yet seen the presentations from the speakers, it's very interesting to read those contributions and also to see how to build on this already available information. So thank you very much, and our purpose is together with you co-create EOSC. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Isabel. I just would like to make a note because the tripartite event in Faro was, the dates coincided with the CONFOA event, so we didn't advertise this tripartite event heavily. That's the reason why you didn't heard much about it. We can have a debate at the end, but anyway, if there is any burning question to ask to Isabel, you can, one question, you can make it now if you want. If it's not the case, then we'll move forward. Sara, thank you so much for accepting our challenge to participate in this panel. And please let us know more about EOSC in Finland.
So thank you very much for the invitation. I thought there was Roberto before in the agenda, but of course I'm happy to go first, if that's okay for you, Roberto. I assume it's fine.
I don't mind, that's fine, yes.
Okay, so then let me share my screen.
Sorry for the mixing up.
No, it's okay. Just wanted to make sure that it was okay for Roberto.
My mistake, sorry. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you very much, João, and thank you very much for the invitation. It's really my honor, Isabel, to be here today and being able to present the activities that we are doing in Finland. As Isabel already said, so I work at CSC, IT Center for Science in Finland, where I'm also the coordinator for the EOSC Finnish Forum, and I will tell you more what this is about. And I'm also one of the elected members of the EOSC Association board. So in this presentation, I want to give you a bit an overview of the activities in terms of coordination and engagement around the EOSC that we are doing in Finland, and also in the Nordic region in general. So where did we start from? So in 2020, we tried to understand who were the actors that were active in Finland. And indeed, the situation in Finland was that we had some EOSC representatives from the Ministry and Academy of Finland, that is one of the research funders in Finland, part of the EOSC steering board, so one of the representatives of the member states. Then in Finland, we had at that time, and this is still the situation today, only one member in the EOSC Association, that is my organization, CSC. And if you look on the association website, you will see that there are 3 other members in Finland, but actually these are more pan-European organizations. So at this point in time, and that's the same situation of 2 years ago, we only had 1 member. And then in Finland, we also had, we are also member of the CONOSC initiative, so the Council for National Open Science Coordination. And of course, they are also very active on all the matters and the activities related to open science and EOSC. In addition to these actors that were, if you want, officially more engaged in EOSC, we have a series of research performing organizations, research infrastructures, ERICs, that are very active in European funded and also national funded projects that are related to open science and therefore to EOSC. So this was the situation in 2020. This was the scenario in our country. So what we decided was to launch, and there was no an official, let's say, way of coordinating our effort in the country. That's why we jointly, together with the Ministry of Education and Culture and Academy of Finland, that are also the 2 research funders that are part of the steering board, and together with the Federation of Finnish Learned Societies, that is the organization in Finland that is participating to the CONOSC initiative and it's running the Open Science National Coordination, we gathered together and we decided to establish what we call the EOSC Finnish Forum. So what is it? It's an informal initiative, meaning that the EOSC Finnish Forum doesn't have any official role in any EOSC governance. So the EOSC Finnish Forum is not the mandated organization for Finland, but it's a bottom-up initiative, if you want. Actually, it's a top-down in the sense that the ministry and the research funders are heavily involved. But the idea is to really raise and collect the bottom-up contribution of the national stakeholders. So the scope of the Finnish Forum is to discuss and exchange information on the latest EOSC developments and also assess the implication on other national initiatives, because you know that so EOSC has many relations with many other initiatives. So we want to understand what's the impact of EOSC on the other initiatives or national priorities. We established the Finnish Forum to represent the collective interest of Finland into EOSC. And how do we do that? So we discuss the EOSC developments at national level, And through the forum and through the links that the forum enables, because as I said, we have representatives that are part of the steering board, but also members in the EOSC Association, we try to bring back the feedback from the country into the governance of EOSC. And finally, the establishment of this forum also allows us to discuss potential future collaboration at country level, because disseminating information, for example, about the upcoming infra-EOSC course in the country, and also having regular discussions with the national stakeholders about the activities that they are doing in the open science area, we can understand who's working on what, and maybe join together forces, for example, in a new project or in a new initiative. How did we structure the Finnish forum? So there are, very few guiding principles. So it's an open, participative, and free of charge forum, meaning that there is a subscription to the forum, but it's free of charge. So it doesn't have any fee associated. And of course, it's for individuals. It's not a decision-making body, but it's more a network for discussion and information sharing. The only requirement that we ask to the individuals subscribing to the EOSC Finnish forum, despite the fact that they need to be associated or be based in Finland, is that they have committed themselves or their organization to the Declaration of Open Science and Research 2020-2025, which is the document that at the national level steers the open science activities. And of course, just a remark, the membership in the EOSC Finnish Forum does not substitute the membership in the EOSC Association. So the idea of having the Finnish Forum was really because at national level, at that time, it was unclear what was the interest of the national stakeholders in joining the EOSC Association. And still today, we are encountering some difficulties in encouraging some organization in joining the association. And I would say that I think that this is a bit also a cultural element, because I think that having a discussion with some of the national stakeholders, they are still in a phase where they are trying to understand more about EOSC before committing to be part of the association. And that's why we established this platform, to make sure that nobody was excluded by the EOSC from the EOSC development. We have a structure to run the forum. And of course, the Finnish forum is our contact point with the EOSC in general, and all the Finnish stakeholders are welcome. We have a coordinating committee that is composed by the members that I've shown you before. So the Ministry for Education and Culture, Academy of Finland, that is one of the main research funders for open science in Finland, the Open Science National Coordination, and also the EOSC Association of Finnish members, at the moment only CSC. There is an office. So this office that is run by CSC is sponsored by the Ministry of Education and Culture. So that's also a very nice commitment from the ministry in bringing forward this activity at national level. And you can see here what are the key persons, part of the coordinating committee. You see the office, so I am the coordinator for the initiative, and you see a bit what's the role of the coordinating committee. So we try to make a plan for the national stakeholders, and we try especially to discuss what are the national priorities versus the EOSC priorities, and try to collect the feedback of the country and reflect this in the governance. Last September, these are the numbers from September 2022, we had more than 100 members that signed up to the forum. And you can see the different type of organizations that we have been able to attract. And we have 58% of the participants coming from universities. These are the profiles, the most common profiles that we have in terms of people participating in the forum. So you see that we have some decision makers like directors, managers, senior advisors, and so on, but also experts and, for example, information specialists or doctoral researchers. So it's a very diverse set of stakeholders. We also established clearly some communication channels that we use to run the activities of the forum. We are leveraging on the Open Science National website, for example, so we didn't want to create an extra structure or an extra communication channel for this, but we are trying to reuse as much as possible the open science channels that are already established in the country. And we use therefore some newsletters, and we have a mailing list through which we will disseminate the EOSC main news. Just to give you an example of the type of activities that we are doing in the forum, last November, so in November, for example, we organized a webinar on future prospects of data management plans towards machine actionability. So what did we do? At the start of the year, we presented the plan that was part of the multi-annual roadmap that Isabel mentioned before for EOSC. We identified what were the topics that were more relevant or on the EOSC agenda, and we asked our national stakeholders which one were the more interesting for them, because maybe they had some activities going on in that perspective. And DMPs was resulted to be one of the most common topics on which several universities in Finland are working on, especially on making DMPs machine actionable. Then, together with the DMP consortium in Finland, we launched, as under the umbrella of the Finnish forum, this webinar, and you can see that we had like more than 80 participants, which for a country like Finland, it's really a lot. So this is to prove that this network is really facilitating the exchange of information from different actors that normally wouldn't work together on the same topic. And it was really nice because through the webinar, we realized that there were, for example, 3 universities working on a very similar topics. And at the same time, they were running similar surveys. So they decided to work together on this. So that's also the role that we see for a structure like the EOSC Finnish Forum. So that's what we have in Finland, but I thought that it would be interesting also to give you an overview on how our sister countries are doing in the region. Because in the Nordics, we have many similarities for culture and values, but this doesn't mean that we all work in the same way. And for example, I can tell you that in Denmark, they decided to follow the Finnish example. So they also set up an EOSC Denmark coordination forum with the same purpose. The difference is that in Denmark, they have an official mandated organization. So, and it's the mandated organization running the forum. I don't know if I said this before, but in Finland, we don't have a mandated organization, at least not at the moment. When it comes to Norway, for example, the situation is slightly different. So they are planning a national structure for EOSC, and that will be run by the Research Council of Norway. And the Research Council of Norway is again the mandated organization. In Norway, for example, the mandated organization is different from the members that are part of the EOSC steering board, because in the EOSC steering board, Norway is represented by the Ministry of Education and Research. But the idea, again, for them to build this national structure is really to group together all the potential actors that are very active at EOSC level. And you can see that differently from Finland and Denmark, where there is just one member in the EOSC association, Norway has 4 members. Last but not least, the example for Sweden. So in Sweden, instead of having a national structure like a forum, like we have in Finland or in Denmark, they established a national reference group for EOSC to support the Swedish Research Council, that in the case of Sweden is both mandated organization, but also it has a role in the steering board. So again, different structure. And the role of this group is really to group together all the stakeholders engaged in the EOSC Association, also including EOSC Association member organizations and universities that are represented through the Association of Swedish Higher Education. And I might say that the approach of Sweden is really successful in terms of membership in the EOSC Association, because Sweden is the Nordic country with more members. They have now 12 members in the EOSC Association. So this brief overview was just to say that one size does not fit all, meaning that from what we have seen so far, there is not the perfect formula to coordinate EOSC activities or to do engagement on EOSC in a country. It really depends on the type of country, but there are some examples that can be replicated easily in other countries. And I think we are now in a point in time where, and also Isabel mentioned these tripartite events, where we can compare what works and what doesn't work in the different countries and learn from each other. My last slide is really about what Isabel already mentioned. So because, as I said before, in the Nordic, we work really close together, we decided instead of having a national tripartite event to have a regional tripartite event, where you can see we had more than 80 participants from 7 countries. And we tried to bring together the ministry representatives, ESFRI delegates, vice rectors, RPO managers, regional initiative representatives. And the main outcomes of those meetings was that there was the confirmation that there is really a need for strategic coordination at multi-level cooperation in implementing EOSC and open science. So Isabel already said that, so we cannot do this alone. I mean, EOSC is a collective effort. From our side, it was really a success, seeing that all the Nordic and Baltic countries have committed to EOSC and open science through the ERA action number 1. And also one of the points that was discussed a lot in the event was that EOSC is not just a responsibility of the country or the ministries, but it's also a responsibility at the institutional level. We were discussing before about data management plan. So data management plan, to be successful, they also need to be supported and encouraged at institutional level. And this was something that really in the Nordic we are working on. The last point was about the EOSC national structures that in our experience are really useful to build a network and a communication channel to be as much inclusive as possible. And that's my last point. So thank you very much. I'm happy to take any questions now or later.
Okay. Thank you, Sara. It was a very insightful presentation. And I have in my presentation the challenge to think about a vehicle to promote coordination of EOSC activities in Portugal. Therefore, it was very insightful. Is there any burning question that you'd like to ask to Sara? I have a question from my own. You said, if I understood correctly, that research infrastructures, ERICs, are also part of the Finnish EOSC open science initiatives and possibly on the forum. What kind of activities are they doing, and specifically in trying to make their infrastructures compatible with EOSC? Are you still there, or are you waiting for further information and further guidance on the interoperability guidelines?
So I can give you an example of one of the most active research infrastructure that we have in Finland, that is CESDA, which is also the research infrastructure for the social sciences and humanities. And they are also active, very active participants in the Finnish Fórum. So of course, I mean, like all the other research infrastructure, they are, I think, still figuring out how to interact and integrate properly with EOSC. And actually, we had last week one session dedicated to this topic during the EOSC symposium. But I think that's it's more and more clear the role that they can have in the EOSC. And this was also mentioned last week, the duality of their role in the EOSC ecosystem. Because from one side, yes, they are user and receiver from EOSC. So in the terms that when we talk about the EOSC core, of course, they're waiting for the interoperability principles and the integration requested to be part of the core. But when it comes to the EOSC exchange, they are themselves providers. So they have excellent services to support their communities that can be made available also to other communities or other researchers that still are not using that. So I think that we are in the situation where and the research infrastructure is clear that they have this dual role in EOSC. The how-to is still probably a bit too early because still we are waiting for this EOSC procurement and establishment of this MV and to understand exactly what it means. But that's why I mean, what it is nice in the Finnish Fórum is that the persons from the research infrastructures, of course, have a high level of expertise on different topics, big experience in verification of data, fair services, and so on. So they are really contributing with their expertise at the moment to advance EOSC and to exchange their experience in the context at national level of the Finnish Fórum.
Okay, once again, very insightful your answer. Thank you, and we'll move now to Roberto. Roberto, I'm very sorry I mixed the order of the speakers. Apologize. And thank you again for attending and participating in this panel. And you can start your presentation now. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Again, thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure and honor to be here. I will just say that next time I will not let Sara go before me because she has set the bar way too high for me now to match. So anyway, let me share my screen now. Sorry, that's yeah, this is fine. Okay. So I'm going to start by talking about the national activities that we have in Ireland about open science. I'll go into some detail about some of the activities that are happening, that have just started now, and then go on to the coordination at national level with EOSC. So at a national level, in Ireland, we have had NORF for many years now. NORF stands for National Open Research Forum. And this was launched by the Irish government, formally launched by the Irish government in 2019, although the works started a little earlier. It is composed primarily of research funding organizations, research performing organizations, service providers as well, because HEAnet and iCheck are two service providers who are part of that. And it would be primarily research managers, head of libraries, this profile of people who would be involved in NORF. This group has worked on 28 objectives, across 5 strategic areas. They are listed here: open access to research publications, enabling fair research data, infrastructures for access to and preservation of research, skills and competencies, incentives and rewards. So it's a whole spectrum of items that are relevant to open science. It's not just about infrastructure and fair data management, but it covers the whole area. As you are probably aware, skills and competencies, incentives and rewards, in my experience, are proving the most difficult to address. That's what I'm seeing here in Ireland, at least. They are the most challenging aspects of the journey towards open science that need to be resolved. So this year, the National Action Plan for transition towards open research was launched. It is a roadmap for the implementation of open research across Ireland, and it is structured across 3 themes: establishing a culture of open research, achieving 100% open access to publications, and enabling fair research data and other outputs. So the HEA, which is the Higher Education Authority, part of the Government of Ireland, has awarded 1.75 million to the body that manages North. We can say here, for simplicity, to North, to launch a call for expressions of interest and define some actions that need to be carried out using those funds to bootstrap, kickstart the formal activities that advance open science in Ireland. And actually, there was a launch event earlier this week on Monday, where this action plan was formally presented with the successful projects that have been awarded. I'm going to cover those shortly now in the next slide. So out of the whole action plan, which is again structured across those 3 themes, 6 priority actions have been identified, and they are all getting a share of that 1.7 million. There is some money set aside also for coordination of the whole program, but the vast majority of that 1.7 million goes to funding these 6 priority actions. So national open access monitoring. So this is a means to monitor the published reports and having a dashboard to monitor the transition toward, monitor progress towards 100% open access for publications. Then the number 2 here is an open access repository assessment and alignment. So taking a view of what's available in Ireland and aligning standards, etc. Open access transition program is about establishing a publicly owned, centralized national platform for diamond open access publication of journals and books. Then we have an open research training program. This is all about training professionals, train-the-trainer program it includes, and the like. Then number 5 is a national data stewardship network. So bringing together people who are involved in data management, supporting researchers with data stewardship functions, defining that role as well, and building the network nationally so they can each help each other. The last one is one that I am heavily involved in because I am the lead participant in this, HEAnet and me and our partners, which is a shared data storage service pilot for active research data. One thing to point out here is that at least in the projects that I'm involved in, which are number 6, which I'm leading, and number 5, in which I'm a participant in, Isabel spoke about national contributions. This clearly goes towards, can be seen as a national contribution to the EOSC development plans through the additional activities plans. And I did mention the 1.7 million, but I think it's also worth pointing out that as far as I'm aware, in projects number 5 and 6, there is a vast amount of in-kind contributions to this program as well, matching, if not exceeding, what has been funded via the HEA. So going into a little bit of detail for action number 6, we have called this project ILDAT, and you'll soon see why we've called it ILDAT. And it is really, as I said before, a shared storage pilot service with focus on active data. It has 6 partners, 2 of which are service providing organizations, HEAnet and iCheck, our HPC Centre for Ireland. Then we have 3 universities, University College Cork, University College Dublin, and Southeastern Technical University. This is near Waterford. And then we have EUDAT as partner as well. And what is happening here, as you can imagine, is that we are going to be deploying, using the services provided by EUDAT for data management services for active data. But we will look at the full life cycle with a focus on active data. These partners here are the funded partners who are also providing benefit in kind effort to the project. But we also have 8 pilot use cases who are committed to the project from diverse disciplines and institutes, from across the country, and also a variety of disciplines. We have life sciences, earth sciences, bioimaging, material sciences, sensoring, and others. The project is supported by a user advisory forum, which is essentially the representatives of these 8, initially 8, we hope that to grow during the lifetime of the project, 8 pilot use cases, so representatives of those 8. And then we have the Stakeholder Advisory Forum. This is from the wider research community in Ireland as a whole. And we will work with the Stakeholder Advisory Forum really to help us, to give us direction, and to help us also in the development of our final deliverable, which is the 4th one listed here. I will talk about that now in a second. So the aims and objectives of IRLDAT are, well, first of all, understand researcher data storage and sharing requirements so that we can build a platform that the researchers can use and ensure that the services that we offer to them are fit for purpose, and we can understand what types of services we need to eventually offer to them. We also want to learn how to manage these services. We don't know, there isn't in Ireland yet a research data management service as such. So really this is a great opportunity for us to build that expertise within the country, within Ireland, through those, starting with those first 3 universities who are involved with their staff, with their technical staff, and through the support of the Stakeholder Advisory Forum, spread that knowledge, spread that experience about managing such infrastructures for research. The last point is really, well, this project is as a pilot, but at the end of the pilot, we want to come up with a definition of a service, a formal definition of a production quality service, which covers the design, the architecture, and sustainability, looking at resourcing and funding as well. And that's where the Stakeholder Advisory Forum will need to play quite a big role, because it will be of national concern, this service design. So therefore their voice is needed to be heard and to help us make decisions and to influence what we do in the project. So it is a 2-year project, starting on the 1st of November 2022, running until the 31st of October 2024. And it is divided into 2 phases. In the first phase, which lasts until June 2023, we will be leveraging the infrastructure provided by EUDAT through the DICE EOSC project, where EUDAT makes available its infrastructure and data management services free at the point of use until June 2023. So we're going to be leveraging that. So researchers in Ireland will use EUDAT services and will leverage infrastructure. So the storage infrastructure will be belonging to EUDAT in one or more of their data centers in Europe. This enables the researchers to get accustomed to the services, prove the fitness for purpose, and so on. Then we go into the second phase, which is from June to the end of the project, where the EUDAT services are deployed on national infrastructure in Ireland. And you can see this in this picture here. What this achieves is that this is where we build the national expertise in managing and offering the data management services offered by EUDAT, so that we can offer them directly to our users nationally and supported on national infrastructure. Yes, as I said before, the pilot use cases, we have multiple institutes and we have this list of disciplines today who are involved. This is just the initial set. We hope to grow that set during the lifetime of the project as we disseminate more about our results. We do expect to bring on more use cases. Now, going back to coordination with the national activities in open science and EOSC, linking also to what Sara said earlier, in Ireland, there is one member in the EOSC Association, and that is HEAnet, and we are also the mandated organization. And when we look at the EOSC steering board, HEAnet happens to be also the delegate in the EOSC steering board. So what this means is that HEAnet has quite an important role, because it is representing Ireland as a whole, really, in the steering board. And okay, we can only represent ourselves in the EOSC Association because there is no national representation. Everybody there is there as their own individual organization. But still, being a mandated organization gives us additional responsibilities in terms of aligning views at a national level. And what was happening until recently, that this there was a gap in terms of getting the national view to represent, certainly within the EOSC steering board, and to a lesser degree in the EOSC Association. When I said something in the EOSC steering board, by right, I should have been saying something on behalf of Ireland, but in reality, I was saying what I thought was appropriate to say for any particular topic, because I did not have the means until recently to collect the national view on such topics that were being discussed at the steering board. We also have a handful of experts involved in the EOSC Association task forces. So again, this also points to an opportunity for stronger coordination between national players in North and the EOSC activities. And this is primarily one of the main reasons why we set up the National Tripartite event on the 28th of September. We were able to gather about 50 people. We had 60 people registered and about 50 turned up as a half-day in-person event only in Dublin. And it was really to address information exchange and start the road about stronger coordination between national and EOSC activities for open science. We have indeed, as a result of this workshop, which brought together, I said, 50 people, and these 50 people were VPs of research from research performing organizations, research infrastructure managers, and these could be ERICs or Irish nodes of ERICs. For example, we had Elixir Ireland present, we had ISTA, part of CESTA present, and so on. We also had representation from the government, of course, and representation from research funding organizations. Another key stakeholder present there were the managers of national research centers. We have so-called SFI, Science Foundation Ireland Research Centers. These are thematic research groups which are across universities. So it could be, for example, in the earth sciences or photonics or material sciences and so on. And we brought also those individuals, the executives of those research centers to this event. So there was a very good representation of the stakeholders of the Irish research landscape in Ireland present at this event. As a result, we have formed a coordination group called EOSC Ireland. It is starting lightweight at the moment. It has only been formed, and the purpose really is to facilitate information exchange and coordination between national and international activities in EOSC. So the national activities can inform EOSC association through the mandated organization, which is HEAnet, can also inform the EOSC steering board, which again is HEAnet, the representative there for Ireland. We will have workshops where we can bring, for example, the representatives of task forces in EOSC to talk about the developments of the task forces to the Irish researchers who are interested in such topics for alignment and coordination. And we also can use this EOSC Ireland group to provide input to policy opinion papers developed by the EOSC steering board. Indeed, the EOSC steering board, although it is limited membership, working groups of the EOSC steering board are open to experts. And this is a way as well to recruit experts from Ireland who can contribute to the works of the EOSC steering board. We have on the 5th of December our first workshop. This is on monitoring. So the EOSC steering board in 2021 launched a monitoring survey on the investments and policies and practices for open science nationally. And it is being, it was launched mid-November, the 2022 survey was launched. And on the 5th of December, we will be discussing the contents of that survey and how we can collectively in Ireland respond to that survey to give a good response to it. So that's all from me. Thank you for your attention, and if you have any questions.
Thank you very much, Roberto. Is there any question to Roberto? So I have one of my own. We have been also thinking and about the possibility of having the data storage and data services in the HPC DCCs, Digital Competence Centers. And if I understood correct, that is the model that you are having at this stage, right?
So iCheck is our national HPC center for Ireland. They are involved in this pilot. They are providing infrastructure to support the pilot in phase 2. But it's not only iCheck. We also have University College Cork and Southeastern Technical University, who are also providing infrastructure. The final model, whether the production quality service will be hosted by the HP Center or by another institute, well, that's not decided yet. It will be, the pilot will come to that decision where it should be, but that's in 2 years' time. We haven't reached that conclusion just yet.
Okay.
Although they are involved in the pilot, yes.
The second question is, at this stage, you'll use the EODate full portfolio, and you're not thinking on using a Dataverse repository?
So the pilot is primarily about active data, not about archiving, not about repositories. It's about sharing and collaborating on active data. So that's our main, that is the scope of the project. Now, it's very clear to me and to also the pilot participants that a pilot user cannot take part in a pilot in isolation from their research life cycle. If their research life cycle requires them to interact with a repository, then we will find a way of doing that in the pilot. Although, as I said, the pilot itself formally is only about active data and how active data can be shared between researchers to collaborate, not the preservation part.
Okay, thank you. So I will now start my presentation, and hopefully we'll have some additional questions at the end. Okay, so My first slide is about what EOSC is. I will not read it, but I would like to do an analogy. So under the Erasmus program, my old son will go to next year to a North European country, not yours, Sara, sorry, to do his Erasmus, okay? And once he gets to the campus and opens his laptop, magic will happen. You will be able to access internet without doing any effort. And you might think, why are you talking about EduHome? And what is the relation with the EOSC? And I think there's a few things that are important to consider. Firstly, EduHome is highly federated. It's difficult to find anything more federated than EduHome. You have a number of institutions, a number of teams, and these teams follow the interoperability guidelines so that one person from Portugal can go to another country and EduHome works. So they also follow the same rules of participation, and EOSC has also rules of participation. EOSC is federated, and EOSC has interoperability guidelines. So at this stage, you find the parallel. And just to move forward, I would like to stress also the way everything was designed. So we only turned the laptop on and the internet is there. So the other thing is that EduHome took more than 10 years to be made, and EOSC is far more complicated. It will take much more time, but I think the vision is compelling to make open science by default, by design, without, the scientists, they want to do their job. They don't want to care much about open science, but they can do open science if it is easy to do it, and they are rewarded for doing so. So the ambition is to close collaboration between knowledge institutions, government, industry, and citizens, that the scientific processes are inclusive, are efficient, transparent, and carried out with integrity. Of course, no barriers to reading and reuse of scientific outputs, and of course, also fair. So we have been doing EOSC activities since 2008, because we started open science to publications with HEAnet in 2008, and all the work that we have been done so far is kind of EOSC considered, and Isabel told that is included in our contributions. So, but EOSC is more than that, of course, and it's kind of a glue. It's kind of a glue. It's like, I also I always talk about, and for those that are from the Portuguese community know about the PTCRIS project, and PTCRIS is a glue. It's not a system. It's a system of systems where there are lots of guidelines that make the systems interoperable. So EOSC is also a glue. But anyway, most of you know this slide by heart at this stage. But we are working on four areas: the publications, with the transformative agreements, diamond initiatives, the green open access using HEAnet, and I will talk a little more about the research data services. And some of you missed the presentation of the IndexR service, which is the directory of journals and repositories. And this initiative is also kind of domain managed, and you'll be contacted. And the message here is for those who have data repositories, you will be contacted to register your repository in this directory. And of course, PT quiz, which is also important in these open science activities. So I want to share with you some developments. The brand has been chosen. We have also developed the website for research data, and soon it will be launched. You can have a sneak peek of the first page here. Then, as the vice rector of Ming University told this morning, we are also working, or we asked Minho, funded Minho to work on the 3rd edition of the Essential of Research Data Management. This was a very successful MOOC, having more than 1,700 participants, and most of them finished the course, so it was very well succeeded. And we have some updates. RDM responsibilities, the DMP template. So we'll have a module or a piece of the module that will talk about DMPs, Argus, and FCT template. Content related to sensitive data, certified repositories. Pedro also mentioned this issue a while ago, and Horizon Europe requirements. So also coming soon, the rector told us this month or next month it will be ready. So it will be a nice update on the existing MOOC. So I think Philip also presented, but some time ago. But this is also to say that Argus is ready to be used, and it has been. We ended the configuration some months ago, so we are now waiting for the policy to be approved and to launch also the repository service, which by this time, you know, that is highly redundant, according to Zacharias, that spoke today. And that we'll be using also for, at this first stage, for funding, FCT funding beneficiaries only. I know that some of you expect more from this service, but we have to be careful. I don't know, but if you know, but HEAnet network costs hundreds of thousands of euros per year. We are very glad to manage it for you, but everything has its cost, and we have to be careful because research data is different from publications. So that's why we want to go slowly. So anyway, João Nuno also talked about the call. So together with Argus, together with Poland, we'll be launching a call so that institutions can apply and during this pilot. And the criteria in order to be eligible for this call is that you have to submit your data management plan using the Argus FCT template. 30% or 2 elements of your institution or your project must complete successful the 3rd edition of the MOOC, the Essential of RDM, and then you have to be able to invoice. This is because we'll give a very symbolic contribution to the institutions that don't apply, and this is under a SAMA funding project, so we need the invoice to claim the costs to the funding agency. So the selection criteria will be based on the merit of the open science strategy of the applicant institution, the merit of the application submitted, the completeness and quality of the research data management plan presented, and the volume of research data. If you want to store 1 petabyte, you will not be able to do so at this stage, at least even in the super reliant Zacarias repository. But the process will also take into account the diversity of types of institutions, scientific areas, and geography areas. For instance, if we have a lot of applications from a single institution or from a single region, we'll try to balance, even if they are scientifically better than the others, we'll try to balance. So we have 30,000 euros from SAMA, and the minimum funding limit will be 5,000 euros up to 6 applications. So please, you can contact us during this event to discuss if you are interested. If you were planning anyway to deposit a set of data sets, and this can be an incentive, this can help. It's symbolic amount, but still it's a help. So besides these open science activities, and as João told, these also are part of the EOSC. We work for many years, and our existence is due to the need of managing some of these infrastructures. And we have the computing, we have the data, and we have the network infrastructures that we try to manage as best as we can. So moving now to EOSC. I've been working in EOSC since November 2018. And the terms of reference, the instructions that I received were to do representation tasks in EOSC. This means focus on the interests of the Portuguese Republic in the EOSC Association. I'm the representative from Portugal and from FCT. And FCT is a mandated organization. The difference is that mandated organizations have voting rights stronger than the other ones. For specific items only, it's not a big deal. And we try to act as a national contact point. And maybe number C is the least well succeeded task, which is to facilitate the coordination of the national infrastructures and networks. We have conducted a few surveys, but we haven't started. Again, as you heard from Sara, it will take some time because the standards are also not ready. The EOSC is starting the procurement process for developing services. So this is not as well developed. So we try to share EOSC with the national community. There are a number of events that you can see here. And I also try to advertise, for instance, the call for EOSC task forces for instance, the Fórum community, RDA.pt community, or even the National Research Infrastructures community. So every time I receive some important information or funding opportunities, I try to advertise them in these lists. So we also have some contribution in EOSC related projects. I will not go into details, but Minho in the EOSC Future, Science Center of the Ocean, I think it's from Algarve University, is also working in EOSC Live, Escape Project, again with Minho, LEAP and INCD, and also Professor Delphine Leon also working on the task force of research, careers, recognition, credit. I think there are 1 or 2 additional names in two other teams, but they are not mentioned here. to sum up our contribution, we will keep working until the job is done, but it's not only up to us to implement open science, neither implement EOSC compatibility. I like this graph a lot, actually, and I'd like to use it as with an interesting example that was due to the pandemic, and it is the video conferencing. So if you see, with the pandemic, we started to use Zoom, and we could use it because there was an infrastructure. Actually, we provided Zoom to our community. Then Zoom is super easy to use. Even our parents can use it, and older people. It's easy to use. Then it became a normative, because in the beginning, do you want to do video conferencing? I don't have headsets. I don't know how to do it, but then everyone had to use it. And then make it rewarding. At some stage, we were at home, we were being paid to work, but it was rewarding because it was the only way we could work during the pandemic. And policy, there was laws, specific laws that mandated us to stay at home, etc., etc. So this is the kind of, I don't want a pandemic or similar to happen so that open science is the new normal, but I think it is important to think on this and have this global view and holistic on this topic. So the other important thing, and I think it was also mentioned in previous presentation, is it has to be broad, and it has to cover a lot. Different levels, governing, funding organizations, research performing organizations, expertise centers we haven't talked much about, but we need to, research group, researchers. Then we have to think on the different arenas, infrastructure, skills, recognition and rewards, policies and regulations. And more important, or also as important, is that open science is not at the end of the process. Open science, we have to think on open science before, during, and after making science. So this is very important, and this has to happen to open science become the new normal. Some points worth considering: align top and bottom down initiatives, address main barriers for researchers, time, effort, and financial costs, data protection, legal restrictions and lack of recognition, a stronger focus on open science activities, again, before and during research projects, and develop expertise and capacity in multiple disciplines. Coimbra mentioned this need to have multidisciplinary teams. So, and design research workflows and integrate, think local, national, and international services for these workflows. So I'm finishing. So the next steps of the EOSC activities, and this is the challenge that I was mentioning a while ago when speaking with Sara, is that we need to talk. We need to talk. We need more coordination of national EOSC activities. I don't mean national coordination of EOSC activities. I mean coordination of national EOSC activities. So where EOSC can, where FCT can play a role, of course, but probably as CSC, which is facilitating the office tasks and not the coordination of the network. So we have to discuss to move to the next level. And as part of this, also important, Isabel mentioned, the Spanish and Portuguese EOSC tripartite event was more, it was 2/3 Spanish and 1/3 Portuguese. We want to do 100% Portuguese, but of course, it's the main goal is also to have the commitment on policymakers and engage with relevant stakeholders. So this will be difficult to achieve, and let's see if we can do it next year. So just to finish, some of these slides, and this is the benefit of doing them after the EOSC symposium, which occurred last week, is this amazing Dutch approach that was presented in the EOSC. You can see the full presentation there. And thank you for your attention. We don't have much time. Actually, we are out of time, but still I would like to give time for 1 or 2 questions. Raquel, we have... No, because they have to listen as well. Remote speakers. Thank you.
Can you please develop a little bit better who can apply pollen repository project?
Yeah, so the first use case for pollen services and pollen repositories are FCT beneficiaries. Projects, the data generated under FCT funding, okay? So if you have applied for a project within FCT, you were granted that project, you generated data, and now you wanted to store the data, then you are eligible. It has to have some relation. It's like pollen is at the first stage being used for FCT, and because we launch also the policy for research data, and that's the first use case.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for all the speakers. I think we learn a lot from the experience on different countries. And of course, I'm thinking, what can we do? And this to address also your question, what can we do here in Portugal? And there are 2 levels here. I totally agree that it will be very important to try to coordinate the initiatives around the EOSC in Portugal, and we can see it from 2 perspectives. One is the perspective of the community. We want, and we can organize ourselves. I'm thinking this is almost a challenge to all of us. We can use, if there are no other forum, we can use this forum, or you can use RICAP and bring the community in and organize regular discussions around what is going on in EOSC. We can use, for instance, as you know, João, we did on the initial years of CAP, we made once or twice annual meetings of the community, and we can do it something like this. The other question is more probably to FCT and FCCN as mandated organization, is what is the level of if you want this to be completely a bottom-up initiative and a community initiative, like for example, it appears to be the case of Finland, where there is no mandated organization, or if FCT-FCCN wants to have any other role. But anyway, I think it's also up to us, the community, to really promote and engage this discussion. And thank you very much to Sara and to Roberto. I've learned a lot from your experience. I'm already looking at the Irish national plan that seems very good document. So thank you very much. And this is a challenge for us, for all of us in Portugal, including myself, but all of us. Let's do something.
let's do something, and tomorrow with a different scope, and I hope Pedro and Jorge don't mind. Tomorrow we'll have the workshop to discuss the data. It's more the discussion of the creation of a digital competence center, but we can have a 1% time for discussing a bit further this issue. Anyway, the idea I've been discussing with João Ferreira is to have a lightweight organization, but it's inclusive. It has research performing organization, it has research infrastructures, it has digital competence centers of proximity, thematic, has horizontal digital competence centers. So we have a few ones only here. Where are the research performing organizations representatives? Where are the research infrastructure representatives? We don't have. So that's my worry. But we can start small and be inclusive and have a simple bylaws or whatever, and start from there. Yeah, absolutely. So I think we have to finish. I would like to thank, please join me in thanking all the speakers, and especially to Sara, Roberto, and Isabel.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Bye-bye.